Hello everyone, I hope you're all keeping safe and welcome to my channel Royal Dark Knight's Haven. And today we are going to talk about the CC builds, how they can be used aggressively and also defensively. So without getting any late, let's get into it. And first and foremost, I'll show you my build. So for the mask, I'm using the most obvious mask that there is, that's the Vile mask. And the reason for that is because of its talent, which gives us a debuff. So the talent, as the talent states, status effects also apply a damage over time debuff for 10 seconds. Total damage dealt is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade damage and increased by your status effect attributes. So that's the best mask to be running with your CC builds. And next, I'm running a 4-piece of Eclipse protocol because as far as I'm concerned, that's the best that I feel like it is. So the backpack, as you know, once you have the core talent is as a skill tier on any piece, then you can just change the second attribute to anything you want, and that's an automatic god roll, so there's nothing to be worried about in that section. So uh, the 4-piece talent for these include the 2-piece talent of 15% status effect, the 3-piece talent of skill haste and hazard protection, and the 4th-piece talent of indirect transmission, where your status effects can now spread on kill to enemies within 15 meters and refreshes 50% of the duration. So if you have a look at the talent of the backpack, what it does is it amplifies all damage I deal to status affected targets by 15%. That means if I'm using an aggressive talent other than a status effect giving talent, or a weapon or a skill, that's gonna do 15% damage in addition to all the other damage that's been happening. So that's great bonus. Next, the chest piece is also the same. I'm using a 11.9% skill haste mod because skill hastes are the only thing that are important, as you need to proc your uh, skills pretty quick, because I'm using a chem launcher in this build and you might run out of chems if your skill haste is not good enough or is not good enough to catch up. So as talent states, increases indirect transmission range from 15 to 20 meters and the refresh percentage from 50 to 75. So that's a 5-meter increase. It might not seem big, but it is doing a great deal of an increase. So that's a definite chest piece to have. The next is my holster. That's also an Eclipse protocol. Here I rather chose to run skill haste because I wanted my skills to be back quicker. You can run status effect as well, which is gonna give you more damage or more ensnare or something like that, whichever you're running. So that's your personal choice on that. And for my last piece, I'm running a Golem gear, and the reason for that is its brand set bonus, the first one, the status effects. So you get 10% status effect bonus, and then luckily it dropped with a god roll attribute on armor and also skill haste. So the only thing I had to change was status effects, and it became a great piece to use. What would have been even more better was if it dropped with skill haste and status effect as god roll, then I could have just put skill tier on top as a core attribute. Then what it would have given me as an advantage was I wouldn't have had to run the specialization called technician, because technician is good and all, but there's another specialization that I would love, or I would have had loved to use on this build, and that was the sharpshooter. And I think you all guessed it by now as to why sharpshooter is the thing that I'm looking forward to. It's because of the grenades, the fire nades that there is, so that's there. Another thing that I could have used is the firewall, which I haven't started yet. I always think about it, but I never got it, because what this specialization does is it gives burn duration. So if I could have had run this one, so that would have been a killer weapon to have tag along with the fire starter chem launcher. So that's about my basic structure of my gear pieces. And now coming down to the weapons.
Inventory.
I'm running a Pyromaniac. The obvious reason for that is because I can deal 25% extra weapon damage to burning enemies, and since I'm running a fire starter chem launcher, that means it's gonna give me 25% extra damage on my AR.
Inventory.
So that's good to have. And since I'm having 20% damage to health and damage to armor there, so what that's gonna do is it's gonna proc in and affect even the status effect activated enemies. So having that is a good bonus. So that's the secondary weapon that I'm running is Perpetuation, and the reason for not Perpetuation, I'm running a Vector because of its talent called Perpetuation. The reason for that is headshots proc 50% status effect damage in duration to the next status effect that I apply. So that's a great talent to have on a CC build. So that's about the build that there is. I'm using an exotic pistol just so that I can create those explosions, dealing weapon damage and also applying bleed to enemies nearby if and when needed to. Well, let's get down to the basics. Alright. So, single headshot, it's gonna proc that, and then do this. As you can see, sorry for my aim for that. It took down an elite by itself, only with one single chem. So that's what I'm aiming for with this build. Just a single chem on the CC and to be able to take down elites by itself. And the reason why it was able to do that, because I procced Perpetuation before I shot. If I hadn't done that, wait, I'll just show you what happens if I hadn't procced Perpetuation. So, without Perpetuation procced, what's gonna happen is this. You will be able to do massive damage, but you will not be able to kill the enemy entirely. As you can see, they're all alive on health. So, that's why I like to proc Perpetuation, which kills the enemy as a whole. And this is on heroic and on very hard. So that's like a semi-named enemy that you're seeing over there. The only difficulty with running a CC damage oriented build in the missions or any other part is the boss. Not the boss, but more like the tank enemies. What's gonna happen is those tank enemies are gonna receive damage throughout their armor and not on a specific point, so that the armor is not gonna break. And since the armor doesn't break quick, So they're just gonna be there shooting at you, roaming around without being affected much. And as you know, the heavies don't react to any status effects now after the update that happened, I guess, after TO9. So they're not gonna get staggered, they're not gonna get affected in any way. So he's just gonna run along, move along, and keep shooting you even though he's on fire, he's gonna bleed or whatever. So that's the only place that you're gonna find a bit of problem. So I would recommend, if you find yourself facing a heavy, find a good cover spot to maneuver around and keep shooting at him. Otherwise, change one of your skills, like the secondary skill that I'm having, the Stinger Hive, change it to a sniper turret or something of similar sorts, which could produce great amount of damage on a singular spot. Don't use a grenadier turret, because that's not gonna serve the purpose, because even that is gonna launch wide range attack rather than a pinpointed one. So that's as far as attacking is concerned, I suppose. Wait a sec, let me just show you even the skills that I'm using in detail. So as a mod, I'm using +1 on the ammo. I would have loved to have a better burn strength mod, because the current one that I'm having is only 5.6 and it's barely half. So you can get till 12 if I'm not wrong. So that would be even more damage dealt. So that's one thing that I'm lacking. And on the other thing that I'm running is the Stinger Hive. It has 4.9% damage mod, a 9.7 on the health, and the 4 extra charges on the Stinger. So that's the default lookout that I have for damage oriented CC. Then the next comes the actual defensive side of the CC builds, and for that I'm gonna run a foam chem launcher, and instead of burn strength I'm gonna have ensnare duration, because what it does is it gives me +1 second of ensnare. You might feel that is 1 second any a big deal, but in crucial moments it does matter. And then on the second one, I like to run a trap, a shock trap. And the reason for this is shock traps not only stagger a single enemy kind of a thing, but on a wide range of an area. If I just deploy it, as you can see, it's gonna take care of all the enemies that are gonna rush towards you or your teammates, and it's gonna stagger them as well where they are. Really enough time to shoot if you have to, and that's a good CC skill to have. And as far as foam is concerned, as you can see there, foam stick, and it's gonna stop all the enemies, even the tanks. It's gonna give you a few seconds on the tank, not much, because tanks just break through them and just move about around as they wish. They move about better compared to the third boss CC that I was talking to you about. On the third boss, when you CC the boss, he's gonna be stuck in his space for the entirety of the 17 seconds. For every time that there is that you foam him, except for when he's immune though. But when it comes to a heavy tank, they just don't care kind of a situation. It's hard. It's hard when you are against a heavy, so you gotta be careful regarding how you use your techniques and also your other skills. So this skill is how it's gonna be, and for my shock trap, I'm using a 4.9% duration on the skill and a 6.2 shock radius, though they can be a lot more better. And just so that you guys know, I ran my aggressive CC build through a couple of heroic missions, and I was instantaneously able to kill nearly every one of the enemy that there was. I mean the NPCs that there were, except for the heavy tanks. They are the only ones that proved to be a problem because I did not think about changing my skill. I just wanted to try solely on CC build that I was running rather than changing my skill to something more aggressive. Uh, so that's the only drawback that I had to the whole mission. Hope you liked the video. I wish you would subscribe, like, and comment in to support my channel, and tune in for more amazing builds. And thank you for watching. See you next time.